What's up, guys? It's me, the Gaming Ghost. I'm here today to bring you a very special video today. I'm starting a new series on my channel. It's called Comic X. And today, as the title says, I'm going to be talking about what happens in between the end of Age of Ultron and the beginning of Civil War. Now, I know physically nothing can happen, but a few details have came out about the script of Age of Ultron. So if you're listening right now and you don't want anything spoiled in Age of Ultron, just bear with me. This is all speculation as of right now, because no one has physically seen the movie early yet. But spoiler alert. There you go. So if you don't want anything spoiled, just click off the video now and don't even worry about it. But anyway, as of the script details that we got earlier last week, I think it was, Tony Stark, Iron Man, in other words, is practically done with the Avengers as of the end of Age of Ultron. And that doesn't necessarily mean he's done with S.H.I.E.L.D., just done with the Avengers initiative. Now, spoiler alert for the comic book world. I'm going to take some few details that I learned myself while reading the Civil War graphic novel. Okay, so as of the end of the Civil War comic book, Captain America goes to jail. And Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, replaces him. And I think that is the main reason why they practically brought back Bucky Barnes from the first film and made him to the Winter Soldier and Captain America, the Winter Soldier, as of the MCU. And that doesn't necessarily mean... Sorry, my stepdad is walking around and... Yeah, but anyway, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be the new Captain America. I'm just thinking he is, because as of the comic book world goes, Captain America's done being Captain America for a while, at least, because he goes to prison, and we don't see Captain America as in Steve Rogers, we see Captain America as in Bucky Barnes. Now, if you remember correctly, Bucky Barnes does take up the mantle of Captain America for a while, but let's go to Tony Stark and we'll come back to Bucky Barnes later. So, here's what happens. Tony Stark becomes director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, when he says he's done with the Avengers, I think he means he's done with the Avengers Initiative and not S.H.I.E.L.D. Because, if you remember, as of the events in Winter Soldier, spoiler alert, okay, if you haven't seen that movie, click off the video now, just do it. I already said it's spoiler alert at the beginning of this video, but this is all speculation, so if you want to keep on listening, you can go ahead and do that. But, anyway, Tony Stark becomes director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And not as in The Winter Soldier, but as of Civil War, the graphic novel. And at the end of The Winter Soldier, the movie, S.H.I.E.L.D. is practically done. Completely done. It's been corrupted by Hydra, and Nick Fury is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. still, but S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist. Kind of confusing, I know, just bear with me here. Okay, here's another little bit of a speculation. Since Nick Fury is done with S.H.I.E.L.D., or S.H.I.E.L.D. is technically done with him, does that mean he forms a new S.H.I.E.L.D. before Age of Ultron? Probably. Does it mean that he just created the Avengers and the Avengers are running on his rules instead of the government's? Probably, because if you remember the storyline of Civil War, something happens to a city, and a lot of people die. Reality TV show filming superheroes goes wrong, and they wanted to get a really good view, so they go attack these supervillains, and it just turns bad because an explosion goes off from something, and the government gets really pissed off at this. And so do the Avengers and all the superheroes because of what the government's stating. They're stating that all superheroes, all superhuman beings have to give up their identities and work for the government for money. And that's where Captain America's side and Tony Stark's side come in. Because Captain America is like, okay, we shouldn't do that because at this point, S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist. In the comic books, it does, but in Civil War, as in the MCU, it doesn't. Not anymore. I don't think, anyway. But bear with me here. In the comic books, S.H.I.E.L.D. still exists, but it's very, very corrupt. As of what I can tell. Okay, because they order a target on Captain America after he says no to the law stating that he has to give up his identity, and given that S.H.I.E.L.D. already knows his secret identity, it shouldn't really matter, but that's how comic books work. But anyway, Tony Stark's all for this whole initiative, and he gives up his identity, which he already did earlier in the comic books, but he gives up his identity, creates his own crew, and Spider-Man, this is where Spider-Man comes into the MCU because he's an important part, joins Tony Stark's teams at first because he gets builds a new suit. Tony Stark builds a new suit for him called the Iron Spider. I'm pretty sure everyone knows about the Iron Spider by now because it's one of his most popular suits besides the black suit. And anyway, enough of me rambling. Let's get back on topic. He kind of gets stuck in between in Civil War, and that's why they probably brought him into the MCU, because of one reason and one reason only. He is a key part to this. Not only because he plays both sides, but also, number two, because he was for Tony Stark's side, and then something happens. Now, I'm not going to state what. Okay, I might as well state it because I don't think he's going to be in the movie. Tony Stark's scientist, or Tony Stark, makes a cyborg, practically, of Thor, with all of Thor's abilities and all of Thor's superpowers, everything. It looks exactly like Thor, acts like Thor, everything. And he kills Goliath. And Goliath, I don't really know the backstory on him because I haven't read many comic books in the Marvel universe, the comic book universe, besides, But anyway, I don't know who Goliath is, but however, I do know he dies, and that's why Spider-Man leaves Tony Stark's side and joins Captain America's side. So what happens is Spider-Man kind of goes into, I think it's his apartment or the White House or something, and he says, okay, I'm done with your side. Okay, I'm done. I don't want to take this anymore. Too many people are getting hurt. Just stop the nonsense now, Tony. And Tony Stark's like, look, kid, I don't want to hurt you. Just think this through. And he says, no, I'm working on my own now. And then they get into a huge battle. And I think Secret Service comes in, or someone comes in and shoots at Spider-Man. And they miss and hit a window, and Spider-Man jumps out the window. And that's that. He's left and on his own. But however, Tony Stark is kind of the dick right here, because he sends a kill order. Well, no. The government, not Tony Stark, the government sends a kill order to kill Spider-Man. But given that everyone on Captain America's team has a kill order on them right now, it doesn't really matter. But, however, he doesn't have his suit anymore. It's not working for some reason, or it is, and he's just stupid for some reason. He goes down into the sewers, tries to escape police, I think, and he has his suit on still, but Hobgoblin, Venom, and all of, I think, the Green Goblin, all of them come to kill him. And I don't know if this person is going to end up in Civil War, but he gets killed. He gets toxinized by Hobgoblin's gas, and he gets loopy, and he starts seeing things. But here's the kicker. I don't think it's going to happen, but someone saves him, and I think this is why Black Panther comes in to replace this guy. Punisher saves Spider-Man from these villains and kills them, and goes to Captain America and says, we need help. We need a medic now. And Captain America is, of course, like the whole entire team's against Punisher for some reason. Probably because he's an anti-hero, but that's besides the point. Anyway, this happens. Now, the MCU, let's get back to this. That's what happens to Spider-Man. And I know I kind of rambled there for a little bit, but that's what Spider-Man does. He's on both sides. He's stuck in between, and that's why most posters you see that are fan-made, and most posters that, like the comic book poster that they showed off before they released the comic book, it had Spider-Man stuck in the middle between it. It showed like this on his face, the Iron Spider on this side and the normal Spider-Man on this side, because that's what he wears in Captain America. Like Captain America gives Spider-Man his old suit back and everything, and Spider-Man works with Captain America for the rest of the Civil War comic book. But, however, this is what gets me in the MCU. Like, between what's going to happen between Avengers Age of Ultron and 2 is, I don't know exactly what it is, but I do have a pretty good idea. Now, that good idea is kind of unrealistic, but realistic at the same time. I think Tony Stark becomes director of S.H.I.E.L.D. for Civil War, and he himself, or the government, declares this initiative, and that's what happens. That, I know in the comic books he's not director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Right away, but however in Civil War I think he might be, because at the end of Age of Ultron he is completely done with the Avengers, according to the leaks about the script last week. Now I'll link all these in the description down below, but what do you think about my theory on what's going to happen in Civil War and at the end of the Age of Ultron? Now, if you look at these leaked scripts, be aware you are in spoiler territory big time, because I don't want to go over it because I didn't really think it was necessary to go over it, but yes, go read everything. But if you want to look at this leaked script, these leaked story details, I'm telling you, you're in spoiler territory. I'm not going to say anything. I might as well say it because, spoiler alert, Quicksilver dies. And I think that's where Tony Stark opens up and says, okay, I'm done. Nothing comes out of this but death. And he's done with the Avengers, but he's not done with S.H.I.E.L.D. And he becomes the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the end of Age of Ultron. And something or someone takes off the government, and that's how Civil War starts. Is Captain America doing his own thing, and Tony Stark the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., which makes perfect sense, because quite frankly, they kind of tease this in Avengers 1. Because if you remember, he's on the main floor of the helicarrier, and he's like, how does Nick Fury see with these? And he turns around, and he's like, exhausting. And plus, Tony Stark has kind of always been a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, if you remember clear the heck back in 2007 when The Incredible Hulk was released, stick around for the end credits. He says, okay, we're getting a team together. And the general in that movie, I forgot his name, says, who? And he looks at him weird, and he means The Incredible Hulk, of course. But that also means that he had to be working with S.H.I.E.L.D. during that time. So, yeah. So, link in the say in the comments below what you think of my theory, and if you think it's correct, or if you think I'm completely nuts. Because honestly, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think that Tony Stark is becoming the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the end of Age of Ultron, and I also think Black Panther replaces Punisher, and I also think that Bucky Barnes becomes the new Captain America. So, tell me in the comments below what you think of my theory, and I will catch you guys later. This is a Gaming Ghost signing off.